The great library of the Xylan Empire was silent, its long halls filled with glowing crystals and endless shelves of memory cubes. Most students came here only to study safe knowledge astronomy, trade history, or peaceful science. But Lyra was not like the others. She was young, curious, and restless. Her pale blue skin shimmered faintly under the soft light, her eyes glowing with silver curiosity. Unlike her teachers, she wanted answers, not silence. Ever since she was a child, she had heard whispers about a word that carried fear through her people's voices. That word was human. They also had another name, a darker one, Deathworlders. Every time Lyra asked the elders what it meant, they avoided her questions. Some would only shake their heads. Others would whisper for her to forget it. But Lyra could not forget. She needed to know why one single species could inspire so much terror in the galaxy. One evening, when the library was nearly empty, Lyra's chance came. The Guardians of Knowledge had left the restricted wing locked behind a shimmering barrier. It was said only scholars of the highest rank could pass, but Lyra had studied the guards' patterns for weeks. She had memorized every moment when the surveillance orbs drifted away. She waited until the great clock struck the silent hour. Then, with her heart racing, she stepped into the Forbidden's path. The barrier glowed as she approached, her trembling hands held a stolen access crystal she had borrowed from her tutor. The moment she pressed it into the slot, the shimmering wall cracked open. A breath of cold air rushed out as if the chamber itself had been sealed for centuries. Lyra stepped inside. The Forbidden's chamber was dark. Tall shelves reached toward the ceiling, filled with ancient memory cubes sealed in dust. Strange warnings glowed on the walls, written in red, restricted Class 12 Deathworld files. Lyra froze. She knew she had found what she had been searching for. Her fingers brushed against the nearest cube. It was cold, heavier than she expected. The label pulsed faintly with an alien word, Terra. She whispered it under her breath. It felt dangerous even to say it. Lyra carried the cube to the central console. As she set it into the reader, the room filled with light. A hologram opened before her eyes, showing a spinning blue and green world. Storms swirled across its surface, seas roared, volcanoes glowed red. The voice of an ancient recorder echoed in the chamber. This world, designation Earth, is classified as a death world. Lyra's breath caught. She stared at the violent beauty of the planet. No wonder the word carried weight. Even the image of Earth looked alive, wild, and untamed. The hologram shifted, showing forests filled with beasts larger than buildings. Winds tore through plains, lightning split the sky. The voice continued. Gravity stronger than most habitable worlds. Weather unpredictable and violent. Creatures evolved with claws, teeth, venom, and endless hunger. Lyra's hands shook. How could life even survive there? But then the image changed again. She saw them humans, walking on two legs, their bodies small compared to the monsters around them, and yet they stood tall. They carried fire in their hands, sharp weapons of stone and bone. They hunted the hunters. They survived where no one else could. Lyra's heart pounded. Her people had called them Deathworlders not because they lived on a deadly world, but because they endured it. She leaned closer, her silver eyes wide with disbelief. If these records were true, then humans were not weak prey as she had imagined. They were born from a planet that tried to kill them every day. The voice of the recorder grew darker. Contact with humans is restricted. Their world is a crucible of survival. Species from peaceful planets cannot understand the danger. Do not approach. Lyra swallowed hard. The more she watched, the more her fear grew, and yet, so did her fascination. She could not stop. File after file glowed around her, each one filled with warnings and shadows. Then, suddenly, the chamber trembled. A loud tone rang through the air. She had triggered an alarm. The guardians of the library were coming. Lyra pulled the cube from the console, holding it tight against her chest. She knew she had only moments before they arrived. Her thoughts raced. She had seen enough to know that her people were hiding something. The truth of humanity was buried here for a reason, and she, Lyra, had just opened the first door as footsteps echoed down the hall. She whispered to herself, "I must know why. Why they call them Deathworlders." The door burst open behind her. Guards with glowing staffs rushed inside, their voices sharp with anger, but Lyra clutched the cube tighter, her heart blazing with determination, even as they shouted for her to surrender. She made her choice. She would learn the truth of the humans, no matter the cost. Asterisk. Lyra could still feel her heart racing as she sat in her private quarters. The Forbidden's memory cube lay hidden inside her satchel, glowing faintly under the cloth. She had escaped the guardians of the library by only seconds. Her mind was full of questions, but one burned brighter than all the rest. What happened when her people first met humans? Late into the night, she placed the cube back into her personal reader. The hologram flickered to life again, filling the room with pale blue light. The voice of the recorder spoke. File 7. First contact scout ship Oralis. The image shifted, showing a sleek alien vessel descending through Earth's storm-filled skies. Winds shook the craft, lightning flashed across its hull. Inside, the crew of explorers looked nervous but excited. They had been told the planet was dangerous, but they believed themselves prepared. Lyra leaned closer, her eyes wide. The recording showed the scouts stepping out into a dense forest. Their breathing masks glowed faintly, their weapons ready. Around them, the air was alive with the sounds of insects, birds, and predators hidden in the shadows. One of the scouts scanned the area. Radiation levels low, oxygen breathable. Gravity heavy but stable, the log recorded. They thought they could handle it. Then the image froze on a strange shape moving between the trees. It was not a beast, not like the giant predators shown before. This one walked upright, balanced on two legs, its body lean, its eyes sharp and alert. The recorder's voice whispered, "Subject identified human." Lyra felt a chill run through her. The scouts did not attack, they only observed. The human noticed them but did not run. Instead, it tilted its head, studying them with cautious intelligence, then without fear. It raised a sharpened spear in greeting, or perhaps in warning. The alien scouts laughed at the sight. To them, the weapon looked primitive, weak, but Lyra's pulse quickened. The files had already told her what humans could do with such primitive tools, and the next moment proved it. The human suddenly hurled the spear with incredible force. It pierced straight into the armor of the lead scout, knocking him to the ground. The recording filled with shouts and panic. Another human appeared from the shadows, then another. They moved together like hunters, surrounding the alien crew. With frightening coordination. "They are intelligent," one scout gasped in the log. "Too intelligent." Lyra clutched her hands together. The scene was terrifying and fascinating. These were not beasts. They were something far worse. They were survivors who knew how to fight even without advanced technology. The recording jumped forward, showing the aftermath. The alien crew had barely escaped, dragging their wounded leader back to the ship. As the vessel lifted from the ground, dozens of humans gathered below. They shouted, waved weapons, and threw fire toward the sky. Even without machines, they made their defiance known. The voice of the recorder spoke again. First contact was declared a failure. Scout ship Oralis never returned to Earth. Final message: humans are dangerous. Avoid direct engagement. Lyra leaned back, her breath shaking. So this was the first encounter her people had expected. A weak, primitive species. But instead, they found predators who could outthink and outfight even trained soldiers. No wonder the files had been locked away, yet Lyra's curiosity only grew. She whispered to herself, if one small group of humans could terrify an armed crew, what could an entire species do? The cube glowed again, revealing another hidden entry. This one was marked with a red warning sign. It was a private report written by the Oralis commander before their final transmission. His words echoed through the room, heavy and grim. They are not prey. They are not victims of their cruel world. They are the children of it. Every hardship has made them stronger. Every wound has taught them to endure. They fight with the fury of beasts and the cunning of scholars. Beware the humans. Beware the Deathworlders. Lyra felt her chest tighten. The words rang with such fear and respect that even she shivered. This was not just a warning, it was an admission. A commander of her own people had confessed that humans were unlike anything else in the galaxy. For a long moment, Lyra sat in silence. The shadows of her chamber felt heavier now, as though unseen eyes were watching her. She thought of the humans' sharp gaze in the recording, the way they stood against the impossible, and she could not help but feel a strange pull in her heart. Fear, yes, but also admiration. Something deep inside her whispered that she had only scratched the surface of the truth. Suddenly, a soft chime echoed through her room. Her door was opening. Lyra quickly shut down the hologram and hid the cube under her pillow. Her friend, a fellow student named Karen, stepped inside. "You were not in the lecture today," he said with suspicion. "What are you hiding, Lyra?" Her lips trembled, but she forced a calm smile. "Nothing," she whispered. But inside, she knew she was holding a secret that could change how their entire people saw the galaxy. As Chiron left, Lyra stared at the hidden cube. She whispered, again, this time with more certainty, "I must know more. I must know why they are called Deathworlders." The glowing memory cube pulsed as if alive, and Lyra knew this was only the beginning of her dangerous journey into the forbidden truth. The night outside Lyra's window was quiet, but her mind was loud. She could not sleep. Not after watching the terrifying first encounter between humans and her people. The cube still glowed faintly under her pillow, calling to her like a voice. In the dark, she finally gave in, pulled it out, and placed it into the reader again. The hologram lit up the room, showing more files waiting to be opened. She chose the next one marked, Human Biology Survival Records. The recording began with a calm voice. "This file contains evidence of human survival in environments declared impossible for intelligent life." Lyra leaned forward, her silver eyes fixed on the images. The first scene showed a human lying on the ground with a wound across his chest. Lyra gasped. The wound was deep, enough to kill any member of her own species instantly. Yet the human was still breathing, still crawling, the voice explained. Humans possess redundant organs, rapid blood clotting, and extreme pain tolerance. They are able to survive injuries that would kill most species. The recording sped up, showing the human building a fire with trembling hands. He pressed heated stone against the wound, burning. The flesh closed. Lyra covered her mouth in horror. Her people would faint from such agony, but the human endured it. Within days, he was walking again, scarred but alive. The next record displayed another human in a frozen wasteland. Snowstorms howled. Ice cracked beneath his feet. He wore only furs stitched together from animals he had hunted himself. Lyra whispered, no one could live there. But the human did. He carved shelter into the ice, melted snow for water. Hunted beasts larger than himself with nothing but sharpened sticks. The voice explained, human metabolism adjusts rapidly to harsh climates. They adapt, they improvise, they overcome. Lyra's heart pounded. Every file revealed another impossible trial. A human stranded on a toxic world without proper equipment. Instead of dying, he filtered poisonous air through layers of cloth and mud until he could breathe. A woman trapped on a world of endless jungles where venomous creatures ruled. She was bitten again and again, yet her body built resistance over time. Soon she walked the jungle as if it was her home. The narrator's words echoed like a warning. Humans do not simply survive danger, they grow stronger from it. Lyra's hands shook. She had always thought strength came from peace, from avoiding conflict. But here was a species whose very nature was forged in suffering. Her people avoided pain, but humans embraced it, endured it, and turned it into power. The file changed again, showing something that made her blood run cold. A test performed by another alien race centuries ago. They had captured a single human, and placed him on a hostile world where nothing had survived before. The expectation was that he would die within hours. Instead, the human lived for months. When rescue came, he was not only alive but had created tools, shelters, and traps across the land. The alien scientists ended their report with a line that sent chills down Lyra's spine. Humans are not victims of hostile worlds. They become part of them. Lyra sat frozen. She thought of her own people, delicate, careful, always protected by technology and order. If any of them had been placed in such conditions, they would not last a day, but humans. Humans were different. Her pulse quickened when the last record in the file appeared. It was a direct warning from a scientist who had studied humans closely. The figure on the hologram was old, his voice heavy with fear. Do not mistake their small size for weakness. Do not mistake their simple tools for ignorance. A human's true weapon is endurance. They will outlast famine, storm, pain, and even death itself. If you fight a human, you are not fighting their strength. You are fighting their refusal to die. Lyra whispered the words to herself. Their refusal to die. She could feel her chest tighten. Was this why the galaxy called them Deathworlders? Because they were born in a world of endless danger and refused to give in? Because their survival itself was a weapon? She shut down the hologram, trembling. But her heart would not let her rest. The more she learned, the more she wanted. Every secret only led to another question, another locked door. She pressed her hands against the cube, whispering, "What are you humans, monsters or miracles?" Her door chimed again. Chiron's voice came through softly. "Lyra, you've been awake all night. I can feel the energy from your chamber. What are you hiding?" Lyra froze. If anyone discovered the cube, she could be expelled, punished, even imprisoned. But she could not stop now. The truth of the Deathworlders burned inside her like fire. She called back, her voice calm. "I'm fine, Chiron, just studying." His footsteps faded away. But Lyra knew it would not be long before suspicion grew. She had to act faster, dig deeper before the Guardian stopped her. For the first time, she understood that her journey was not only dangerous, it was forbidden because it revealed something the galaxy feared. She looked out the window at the stars shining across the void. Somewhere out there, humans were living, breathing, surviving. And she whispered to herself, if they can survive anything, what will happen the day they decide to rise? The cube glowed as if answering her, and Lyra knew her search for truth had only just begun. Lyra had seen enough to know humans were not like any other species. They survived wounds, hunger, storms, and poisons. But the cube still held more, and something inside her whispered that survival was only the beginning. The next file glowed with a crimson seal marked Human Warfare, the Age of Fire. Her hands trembled as she opened it. The hologram lit up with images that made her breath catch. Armies of humans standing across burning fields, weapons in their hands, fire in their eyes. The voice of the recorder echoed, heavy and sharp. Humans are not only survivors, they are fighters. The first scene showed a battle on their own world, Earth. Tribes of humans clashed with spears and shields. The air filled with smoke. Screams and steel. Lyra's chest tightened. Her people avoided violence at all costs. But humans did not. They embraced it, shaping war as if it was part of their nature. The hologram shifted, showing humans with more advanced tools. Explosions tore through the land. Machines rolled across fields. Yet even when the world around them was destroyed, humans kept fighting. They fight for food, for land, for power, the narrator said, but also for pride, for freedom, for ideas. Lyra's silver eyes widened. She had never imagined war could be fought over thoughts and beliefs. For her people, battles were rare and only about survival. But for humans, war was something deeper. It was part of who they were. Another recording began. It showed a human army outnumbered 3-1 by an alien force. Lyra leaned forward, her heart racing. The aliens had better weapons, stronger armor, faster ships. By all logic, The humans should have fallen, yet the humans fought with fury. They refused to retreat, refused to surrender. When the smoke cleared, the aliens had fled. Broken and terrified, Lyra whispered, "How?" The voice of the file answered as if it had heard her. Because humans do not measure victory only by strength of weapons. They measure it by will, even when outnumbered. They fight as though defeat is impossible. This is why they are feared. Her. Hands shook as the next image appeared. Cities burning under human bombs. Oceans filled with fire. It was horror and beauty all at once. The narrator's voice grew heavy. Humanity wages war not only against others, but also against themselves. They are their own worst enemy. Yet from every war, they rise stronger. Their history is written in fire and blood, but it never ends with extinction. Always they rebuild. Lyra felt torn. Part of her wanted to look away, but another part of her could not stop watching. She whispered to herself, "They destroy. And yet, they endure." The recording shifted again. Now it showed something even stranger. Humans fighting for others. An alien world under attack by a stronger empire. Humans landed in small numbers. By all logic, they should have lost. But they fought with such rage, such determination. The stronger empire was forced to retreat. The smaller world was saved. Lyra's chest ached. So it was not just destruction. Humans had the power to protect as well. But to protect, they still used war. The line between savior and monster blurred. Then came the last record of the file. It was not a battle, but a testimony. An alien commander stood in the hologram, his eyes dark with memory. "I fought the humans," he said. "I thought them fragile, foolish, unworthy of fear, but they would not stop. Even when wounded, they kept fighting. Even when burning, they kept moving. Even when we crushed them, they returned. They are not soldiers, they are storms. They are fire-given flesh." Lyra felt her whole body shiver. The words carried more weight than any image. Humans were not feared because they were the strongest. They were feared because they never gave up. Even in defeat, they planted the seeds of future victory. She sat back, breathing hard. The room felt colder now. Her people had hidden these records for a reason. If the galaxy knew humans were not only survivors but warriors, everything would change. A sudden thought struck her. Perhaps that was why they were locked away. Not just to keep her people safe from humans, but to keep them safe from the truth. The truth that humans were not simply dangerous, they were unstoppable. Lyra's hands tightened around the cube. Her heart pounded with both fear and fascination. She whispered, "If this is true, then the galaxy does not fear what humans might do. It fears what humans will do when pushed." The cube flickered, its light dimming as if the file had ended. But Lyra did not move. Her mind was full of burning images, warriors, battles, fire, and steel. She could not forget the alien commanders. Voice, "They are fire-given flesh." Her door chimed again. This time it was not her friend Chiron. It was the cold voice of a guardian of the archives. "Lyra of the Academy," it said. "You are ordered to report to the council at once." Her heart froze. They had discovered her. She clutched the cube tighter, her mind racing. If she obeyed, the truth would be taken from her. If she refused, she would be branded a traitor. She looked once more at the stars beyond her window and whispered with trembling lips, "I must know more, even if it burns me too." The council chamber was silent when Lyra stood before them. The guardians had caught her with the forbidden cube hidden in her satchel. The elders' silver eyes glared down at her from their tall seats. "You have broken the sacred law," one of them declared. "Why seek knowledge that was meant to remain buried?" Lyra's heart pounded, but she did not look away. "I only want to understand, why does the galaxy fear humans? Why do we call them Deathworlders?" The chamber erupted in whispers. Some elders looked shocked, others angry. One elder, older than all the rest, raised his hand for silence. "You seek answers? Then you must know the truth. But remember this once known, it cannot be forgotten. They did not punish her. Instead, They placed a new cube in her hands. This one was darker than the rest, its surface etched with scars. The elder whispered, "These are not records of battles. These are the memories of those who faced humans and lived." That night, alone in her quarters, Lyra placed the cube into the reader. The room filled with soft blue light. The first testimony appeared, an alien soldier. His face pale and haunted, his voice shook as he spoke. "They told us humans were only flesh. Weaker than us, we believed it. We landed on their colony with full armies. We thought victory was already ours. But when we met them..." They smiled. Lyra shivered. The soldier's eyes were wide, almost broken. They did not fight like others. They fought as if death was nothing, even when their bodies burned. Even when they bled, they kept laughing. Every night after the battle, I hear their laughter in my dreams. The image faded, replaced by another. This time, it was the testimony of a commander. His voice was low and bitter. "You cannot win against humans. You can kill them, burn their cities, poison their skies, but they will rise again. If you destroy their homes, they rebuild. If you break their bodies, they heal. If you crush them, their children will come for revenge. They are endless, the more you fight them. The stronger they become." Lyra pressed a hand against her chest. Her breath shook as the truth unfolded. The galaxy did not just fear human weapons, it feared their spirit. Humans did not stop. Even nightmares could not kill them. The next recording appeared. It was an alien medic, his hands trembling as he remembered. "We took human prisoners. I was told to examine them. One of them had broken ribs, shattered bones, and burns. Any other species would be dead. But he sat there, smiling. When I asked him why he smiled, he said, 'Because I'm still alive. And if I'm alive, I can fight again.' I have never forgotten those words." Lyra's throat tightened. She whispered the words to herself, "Because I'm still alive." The testimonies continued. Voices of fear, voices of respect, voices of haunted memory. One said, "They do not fight for themselves alone. They fight for each other. A wounded human will still crawl through the mud just to save his comrade. Even death cannot break their bonds." Another whispered, "When you face humans, you face an army of hearts, not just bodies, and hearts do not die easily." Lyra could feel her hands trembling. She had never heard anything like this before. Her people had always taught her that fear was weakness, but this fear was different. It was respect hidden beneath terror. The last testimony appeared. It was not of a soldier or a commander. It was of a child from another world. Her small alien voice shook as she spoke. "When the monsters came, we thought we would all die. But the humans came instead. They fought like storms, loud and terrible. But when it was over, they smiled at us. One of them gave me water and carried me to safety. He was bleeding, but he said, 'Don't worry, little one, we don't break so easy.'" Lyra's eyes filled with tears. She saw now that humans were not only feared for their destruction, they were also feared for something far greater. They were feared because they could not be controlled, because they chose when to fight and when to protect, and no one could stop them. The cube dimmed, the testimonies ended, but the words remained heavy in her heart. She looked out at the stars beyond her window, her voice a trembling whisper. "They are not monsters. They are not demons. They are something else, something the galaxy both fears and needs." She pressed a hand over her chest. Her heart raced with a strange mix of fear and admiration. The more she learned, the more she understood the hidden truth. Humans were Deathworlders, yes, but perhaps that was exactly why the stars could not ignore them. The council chamber was cold when Lyra returned. Her heart pounded as the elders looked down at her with heavy eyes. They had given her every warning, yet she had ignored them. She had watched the forbidden files, studied the testimonies, and learned the truth the galaxy had hidden. One elder's voice echoed across the hall. "You know now why we forbid these records. Humans are not like us. They are danger given life. If our people learn too much about them, fear will spread like fire." Lyra's silver eyes glowed as she lifted her head. "No, elders, you are wrong. Fear already spreads because of lies. You call them Deathworlders, but you do not tell why. You hide the truth, and in hiding it, you create monsters in the dark. The chamber fell silent. Every eye turned toward her. She could feel her hands trembling, but her voice grew stronger. I have seen their strength. Yes, I have seen their wars, their fire, their storms. But I have also seen their hearts. They fight not only to destroy, but to protect. Even in fear, even in pain, they hold hope, the elders whispered among themselves. Some looked uncertain, others furious. The oldest elder leaned forward, his voice deep. Young one, you think you see the truth, but you are blinded by fascination. If humans rise again, they will bring only chaos. They are a threat to the galaxy itself. Lyra's voice broke like thunder. No, elders, they are not just a threat. They are a warning and a promise. The galaxy fears them because it cannot break them. But perhaps it is not fear we should feel. Perhaps it is respect. Gasps filled the chamber. Never had anyone spoken against the council so boldly. The oldest elder struck his staff against the floor. Then you choose defiance, Lyra of the Academy. Know this, your words will be silenced. No one may speak of humans without punishment. Lyra's chest tightened. Her choice was clear: surrender the truth and live in silence, or risk everything to speak. She thought of the testimonies, of the soldier haunted by laughter, of the child saved by a human's arms. She thought of the word Deathworlder. It no longer sounded like a curse. It sounded like a title earned in fire. She stepped forward, her voice steady. Then silence me if you must. But I will not forget, and I will not let others forget. Humans are not only Deathworlders. They are survivors, warriors, and protectors. They are proof that even in the harshest world, life can rise and endure. The council rose in outrage. Guards stepped forward with staffs glowing. But Lyra did not back away. She turned and walked out of the chamber. Her heart racing, her hands trembling, yet her spirit unbroken outside. The stars stretched wide and endless. Lyra looked up at them. Somewhere among those stars, humans still lived, hidden, whispered about, feared. She wondered if they knew. The galaxy called them Deathworlders. She wondered if they cared. Her lips curved into a faint smile. They would not care, she whispered, because names do not break them. Nothing breaks them. She held the memory cube close to her chest. The knowledge inside was dangerous, forbidden, but also alive. It pulsed faintly, as if carrying the heartbeat of humanity itself. And Lyra made her choice. She would spread the truth, quietly at first, then louder, until the galaxy remembered that fear and respect were not the same. For the first time, she felt no fear of the word Deathworlder. Instead, she felt pride in knowing such a species existed, a species born from storms, from pain, from endless struggle, a species that carried fire not just in their weapons, but in their hearts. As she stepped out into the starlit streets, she whispered to herself, the galaxy calls them Deathworlders, but I call them something else, the unbroken. Her words vanished into the night, but the stars seemed to listen, and far away, on a world of storms and oceans, perhaps a human raised their head without knowing why, for destiny had already begun to weave their paths together. Lyra walked on, no longer a curious student. She was now a keeper of truth. And though her people might call her traitor, though the council might call her a fool, she carried within her a fire she could not put out, the fire of the Deathworlders, the fire of humanity. And she knew deep in her heart that one day the galaxy itself would learn what she had learned. One day, the stars would see humans not only as Deathworlders, but as something far greater.